Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some 76-1 CTF gameplay. The first thing that's probably on your minds is, why didn't you upload for the last 4 days? Basically, I just haven't been playing Halo that much, if I'm 100% honest. I haven't really been doing that much either. I hate it when I, stop playing a game because I'm like, oh, I want to do something, more productive with my time. I want to do something more enjoyable. But then I just ended up doing nothing anyway, so I could have been spending that time playing Halo and working on gameplay videos. But I also made a video for the Dawn Network, and the upload failed of it, and it was a really long upload, especially considering my connection is pretty terrible, so... yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I don't want to be inactive on this channel, but topics have been hard to come by, gameplays have been hard to come by because I'm just not playing as much as I used to. The gameplay you're seeing here, I got this gameplay at a time when I cared so much about gameplays. Like, honestly, for me, my enjoyment of a game is kind of... reliant on the fact that I'm passionate about being good at the game and passionate about, being better than my peers or trying to be better than my peers. And that was always the rush for me. That was like trying to get top of the leaderboard when it mattered to me. And it feels like because it stopped mattering to other people, it doesn't necessarily matter to me anymore. I had a long conversation with Severed Void on the subject. It's, since a lot of the top YouTubers have kind of... become a little bit inactive, or they don't necessarily care anymore. BBK Dragoon, for example, he's someone who was literally, my sole basis for getting into Halo YouTube. I don't remember caring about Halo. I hated Halo Reach. I didn't think it was a great game, but I used to watch Halo anyway because I just felt like he brought that content to life. And it was a time where Call of Duty content seemed so stale on YouTube. And, that gave me a lot of motivation to grind Halo and try and become a better player and a better commentator in general. But it feels like I don't know, I'm not seeing that competition anymore. I'm not seeing that spark of excitement where, one content creator comes out and he wants to produce the best content that he possibly can. And I know it sounds a little bit down and a little bit demotivated, I suppose, and a lot of people expect you to find the motivation from within yourself, but for me personally, I'm someone who feeds off of other people's videos and tries to almost, if someone comes up with a great idea for content, I want to try and improve upon that idea and tweak it here and there, and, you kind of bounce off of the community, what the community are thinking at the time, what the audience is thinking at the time, and if you're not getting quite as much of that, it's kind of difficult to make those videos, in my honest opinion. And I'm definitely going to do my best to do so because I do enjoy making Halo content. Once I've got a fixed topic and a fixed idea and I'm really passionate about that idea, I have no trouble making videos. As I'm sure you guys are aware, when I uploaded daily for quite some time, it's definitely not something that comes hard to me. It's just maybe I just need to reflect for a little while and maybe make videos a little bit less frequently. I'm just talking every 2 days. I mean, every 2 days is pretty darn easy to pull off, and that's what I've been doing recently. It's a shame, though, because I loved making videos daily, but it just seems like right now I'm just kind of looking forward to next gen, and Halo 5, trust me, I'll be going crazy over that stuff. But I wanted to take this time, seeing as we're coming up to New Year and Christmas and all that good stuff, I wanted to take some time to talk about some of the games that I've enjoyed this year. What's interesting about games is, for me, I'm someone who gets way more hyped than anyone else I know, to be honest. I'm like a kid at Christmas with any game. Once I see a new trailer, once I'm waiting for the next big thing, I get so psyched that I actually can't sleep the 2 nights before the game comes out. And I'm not even kidding there. Sometimes I have to do all-nighters the night before because I get that excited. Because, I don't know, I love the first 2 months of a game. I'm someone who can get really bought into marketing hype, and it's definitely one of my biggest flaws because it means that I've had a lot of letdowns in the past. You kind of want to go into this stuff. If you go into it with a pessimistic attitude, the only thing that can come out of it is you can be pleasantly surprised. But if you come into it with an extremely over-the-top optimistic attitude, then you can only set yourself up for disappointment. And I'm trying not to do that going into next year because, honestly, but I can't do that. I look at Titanfall trailers and all that I say in my head is, this game looks like my scene, this game looks absolutely amazing. Destiny I'm a little bit more reserved about. I'm sure it will be great. I personally think that although I'm one of the less positive people about the game now, I still think I'm going to enjoy it more than anyone else when it comes out. I feel like a lot of people who are saying they're really, really hyped for it right now are actually going to be disappointed when it comes out, just because it's not their sort of game, or they find the nature of the loot collecting a little bit grindy. Maybe Bungie have systems in place to be able to tackle that, like, I don't know, because often in those sort of games it does kind of feel like a gear treadmill where you're just running along and they're waggling a carrot in front of you, but there's no real genuine incentive to carry on playing. And I'm not sure how they're going to tackle that. Maybe the PvP will be really well designed and really well set up, so that gear isn't too much of a factor to interrupt the actual balance of the gameplay. That's what I'm really hoping, because obviously multiplayer, especially competitive multiplayer, is a very big incentive to keep players playing, in my opinion, more so than co-op campaign. You know, co-op campaign, you can come back to every once in a while, maybe have a split screen session when your friends come around, but it's not something that you're gonna, you know, come back to for years on end, unless it's something really, really, really special. But I find a lot of the time what really keeps players motivated and hooked is competitive multiplayer. And I really hope, you know, I've heard rumors that it's going to be arena FPS. I heard that one of the directors said they were trying to mix Quake with Halo. Obviously, in my brain, that sounds like the best thing in the world, because I miss arena gameplay. I can't lie. Arena gameplay is such a key component of previous generations, and I hate the fact that it's just been completely scrapped out, because I don't think it was past its sell-by date. If anything, I think that arena FPS has more scope for depth than games like Call of Duty do, definitely. I mean, just looking back to some of the arena games that used to come out, I loved how much attention to detail they put into every map, and one of the features I'd really love to see reiterated in future games is the fact that multiplayer maps had their own soundtrack, and it gave it an ambience to each map. I don't know if you played Quake or Unreal Tournament, or even a more recent game going by the name of Nexus, which I talk about loads of times because I friggin' loved Nexus on Xbox Live Arcade. They all had a soundtrack, and the Nexus soundtrack in particular would get you so hyped. It was like a dubstep-infused song, and I don't know, I'd really love something like that in a Halo game. But I'm drifting off topic anyway. I just want to talk about some of the games that I was particularly fond of from last year, and some of them were kind of surprises. In all honesty, the games that I was expecting to be excited by last year didn't really meet my expectations. One of which, mainly, actually that might have been the year before, but I'm just going to include Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2, because that's basically, you know, it might as well have come out this year, because Black Ops 2, you know, was the game that everyone was playing this year, especially beginning of this year, and it was the one that a lot of people were talking about. And Black Ops 2 for me was a major, major disappointment. And it was something that I was so excited for, because Call of Duty gameplay with Black Ops 1 had been moving in the direction of added health, better designed maps, and I mean, just the map design in general. The kill streaks were a little bit more balanced. It's like they took the craziness of Modern Warfare 2 and they tried to refine that to into a system where it was difficult to attain those kill streaks, where they didn't stack up onto each other, and you had to actually work to get Blackbird, Chopper Gunner, Dogs. If you did get them, yeah, you would destroy faces, but you were only going to do it if you had a good team and you were playing solidly. And I love that. And then I hear that Black Ops 2 is coming out, and they say, right, we're going to be a little bit more crazy with this game, and there's going to be a sci-fi influence. And I remember seeing this trailer where you saw a sniper rifle that could see through walls, and I was like, oh my god, are they going to do something like power weapons? And it turned out that all that stuff was based only for campaign. And it was just such a disappointment to me, because Black Ops 2 just felt like they were trying to refine what they'd done in Black Ops 1. And I honestly don't feel like it was refined. For me, the connections were far worse in that game. The map design was less inspiring. There was no map that even came close to competing with Firing Range or Summit for me personally. I felt like they were amazing maps. and it was disappointing. There's just no other way around it, and that's where COD kind of went downhill. A lot of people, it went downhill at the beginning of Modern Warfare 2, where it lost a lot of the balance from Call of Duty 4. I disagree. I don't need balance to be, balance isn't a game changer for me. If a game isn't necessarily 100% balanced, but it has a lot of really interesting, cool ideas, then I can get on board. And for me, that's definitely been some of the appeal with Halo 4, is the fact that we had stuff like regen and thruster pack. And although the game definitely wasn't balanced, a lot of what kept me interested was this fast-paced, fluid gameplay where some of the armor abilities were really interesting. It might have teetered a little bit too much on the side of imbalance, but there was definitely a lot to get me excited about the game. Another game that caught my attention was Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, wow. I advise anyone to go and buy that game, and they're redoing it for Xbox One, so if you were thinking about buying an Xbox One, I honestly advise you get the Tomb Raider game if you already hadn't played it on 360, because Tomb Raider is just like a roller coaster, and if you go into the game trying to take it seriously and, compare it to the great games of all time, yeah, it will probably come up short. But if you just lose yourself in the immersion and the actual world map in general, the game looks incredible, the game plays incredible, the combat is just utterly insane and intense in a definitely good way. The story doesn't take itself too seriously, once again, takes you on like an emotional roller coaster, and if you just stop for a second and lose yourself in it, it's so much fun. Because coming into Tomb Raider, I was really, really skeptical, to be honest, because I thought to myself, the game looked like it was taking a lot of control away from the player. It looked like it was doing a lot of scripted events and quick time events, etc. And it definitely did that for the first hour. In the first hour of playing the game, I was like, I really shouldn't have bought this game. But once you get past that and the world starts to open up a little bit more, you realize that there's a little bit more freedom than you might have originally anticipated. And what they also do a great idea of is they keep introducing new gear as the game goes along, and it has this kind of Legend of Zelda vibe, in the fact where Zelda, you kind of got like a mirror shield, you got a hook shot, and you got all these different items of gear, and it opened up the world more to you and opened up the possibilities. Tomb Raider does a really similar thing, and the gadgets themselves are really exciting and really interesting, and that game just had me hooked. One of the games that disappointed me, on the other hand, was BioShock Infinite. Now, this might be a little bit controversial for some of you guys. BioShock Infinite was one of the biggest disappointments for me. I can't really say why 100%. A lot of people cite the combat when they say they don't like the game. For me, the combat was average, but so was the BioShock 1 combat in a lot of ways. It was kind of on-rails shooter. There wasn't that much excitement going on. The plasmids were probably the more interesting thing, but it was just the atmosphere. And although BioShock 2 definitely had its own atmosphere, I hated the fact that they kind of treated the main characters as disposable. In that, when you got to the end of the game, when you just, you'd gone through this adventure, and I was starting to get attached to the characters. I thought Elizabeth was a great character. I thought Songbird had real potential to be a villain. And then right as you get to the end of the game, try not to spoil it here, but they basically just say, it's the equivalent of Alice in Wonderland, it was all a dream. And to set up all these chess pieces in a game and get me invested in the characters, to kind of come up with this ending which was like, parallel universes, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't like games that do that. I don't, and I at least think, I even think they could have done that stuff, but it should have happened after a final encounter with Comstock and a final encounter with Songbird. We didn't really get to see much of Comstock in comparison to what we saw with Andrew Ryan, where Andrew Ryan had a fantastic finale, and he was a really well fleshed out character. And the same with Fontaine as a final villain. But then, on the opposite hand, Songbird we barely got an encounter with. When he did, he kind of... It was like this weird mission where you put down markers for Songbird to come and fight people for you. And, Songbird looks so intimidating, especially in the trailers. They were really hyping him up as this, final boss, this dark antagonist. And... I love that. I love the atmosphere that BioShock games create, and to have that atmosphere and have those characters put in place to just say, oh yeah, these characters don't really mean anything, we're just trying to tell a bigger story, was kind of a slap in the face to me. Because it was just a different way of storytelling than Bioshock 1, a completely different, and maybe people like the fact that that progressed, but I had all these expectations of, you know, the main villain's going to be great, there's going to be a great story behind what's actually happening here, and it just didn't feel that way to me, and overall that was a disappointment. One last thing, I'm not going to go into big detail, but Last of Us was an amazing game, on the other hand. Last of Us, I was not expecting much from. A zombie game, I'm kind of tired of zombie games. I think they get a bit repetitive at times. Last of Us was incredible. No other way of putting it. If you guys managed to make it this far into the commentary, type Major is a spanner, or something like that. Major is a criminal. There we go. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Peace.